Welcome to the Overgivers Anonymous podcast. My name is Angela Mondor, also known as the Geeky Girl. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about some amazing things to help you get over overgiving. Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Overgivers Anonymous podcast. My name is Angela Mondor. I'm also known as the Geeky Girl, and I am super excited to welcome Natasha Nurse here today to the podcast. Natasha is a neurodivergent pathfinder who uses the power of storytelling to create change and deepen understanding. She's passionate about building inclusive spaces where every voice matters, and she does this through dynamic workshops, impactful content, and meaningful conversations. Her mission is to weave diversity into the very fabric of the organizations that she works with. And Natasha lives by a simple yet powerful motto, which is learn something new and meet someone new every day. I love this. This philosophy fuels her endless curiosity and creativity, making her an incredible advocate for change. I can't wait for you to hear her insights, for you to sit back and relax and enjoy our conversation. Grab your favorite drink, and we're going to have some fun. So welcome to the podcast, Natasha.
Thank you. So honored to be here. Really excited.
I think it's really important that people understand, like, I don't know Natasha. I just saw you on LinkedIn and I'm like, this looks like a stunning, amazing human. And I really want to get to know you better.
Thank you. That's the impression I'm trying to lead with. So it worked.
I nailed it.
Nice. Very nice. I appreciate that. And it's really so honoring. Like it's amazing. A lot of people will do that. Like, hey, I just stumbled across you and I want more. And I'm like, y'all are so sweet. Where were you when I was 13 and so sad? Like,
right? Yes.
But happy to be here now for sure.
All of us neurospicy people are just like, where are the rest of us? Let's collect them all.
Yes. We're in a collection phase. Yeah. I mean, I didn't even learn I was neurodivergent until last May. And it's been eye-opening because, when you live a reality, but you have no names, no community, no understanding, it's so othering. Like you're just like, oh God, I'm an alien. And so it's been so like heartwarming to really find my people and to understand like, oh, this is why you behave this way. This is why this feels this way. And it's been such a beautiful journey. So I'm so excited to connect with other neurodivergent folks and to also share wisdom with neurotypical people to learn how to make space for neurospicy folk.
That's perfect. And I didn't get diagnosed either till I was in my 30s.
Mm.
And in fact, it was a week after that my oldest daughter got diagnosed. It was kind of weird, right? How it all comes around full circle and stuff.
Yeah.
And some people shy away from the labels, and I didn't really have a lot of thought about it at the time when I was 30. Recently, I had a doctor that said, I think maybe you have anxiety. And I'm like, really? You think so? I think I'm just stressed. And they're like, maybe you should go do some research and do some reading up. And I read it up and I'm like, oh, girlfriend, yeah, maybe I do have. Oh, and I like my youngest daughter, I'm like, the doctor said I thought I had this. She goes, you didn't know you had anxiety? I'm like, why did nobody tell me?
I love how children are so savage though. Like they're so savage.
And it doesn't matter how old they are, they're still savage.
They just, oh man, they give it to you whether you're ready or not.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think the most important thing for me, the label isn't about what box do I fit in or how can I be identified. Like those, to me, the label is more about, like you said, like being able to go, oh, that answers the question. To me, I think labels are important.
Yeah. And I hear you. That is actually like controversial too, right? Do you say I am a person with autism or do you say you're an autistic person, right? Like which way you introduce and lead with is a thing for people. Again, I love the phrase when you've met one neurodivergent person, you've met one neurodivergent person, meaning that, right? Like we're all different. We all present differently. Even if I meet other folks who I have autism and ADHD, even if I meet people with the similar party tricks, their party tricks are different and that's okay. And I think the point is, for me, label, no label, I needed understanding. I needed clarity. My brain was doing things that I wasn't feeling comfortable even understanding what was happening. And so, that's where it's been grounding and really just like soul satisfying for me.
I get that. And that's so awesome to think about being able to say, let's be honest. It's awesome that we can be comfortable saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times when people who maybe they have a diagnosis or maybe they don't have a diagnosis and they can be uncomfortable sharing or uncomfortable thinking that perhaps there's a diagnosis for them.
Yeah.
And this comes down to this big topic about inclusion, right? We have come through this time where we're like, oh, we want lots of diversity and we're working really hard for equity and we
Mhm.
really want to include everybody. And then now all of a sudden we've got these great big tidal waves, these tsunamis of like, shut that stuff down, right?
Mhm.
So it's hard for me when I think about my children, when I think about other people's children. As we get older, we kind of have less fucks to give. So,
Mhm.
but like the younger people and thinking about like how all of a sudden they started to feel safe and now all of a sudden we're shutting them down again.
Yeah, I mean, it's because people have lost the true understanding, or maybe there wasn't real clarity and understanding. So when I think about DEI as a practitioner, as a person who lives this truth, waking up, right? Diversity is diversity 360, right? People always get caught up on race or gender or a specific demographic. But again, every person has something different about them. So when we think about diversity, it's really humanity is what it's at cost here. And then equity, do we not all deserve to have something, some part of the pie? Is there enough pie for everyone? Yes, but we have to facilitate the offering and the makings of such. And so that's that part. And then the I, inclusion. Again, who wants to not be invited to the party? We all want to be invited to the party to share in the blessings and the opportunity, and also allow each and every one of our individual strengths to shine. For people to debate whether or not DEI is necessary or needed is to debate the existence of humanity. So if you don't want to be here, then fine, but I do. So like,
I love
let's
that.
figure it out.
I love the passion that you brought to that too, because
Yeah.
it's so important. And I like the definitions you gave everything, which was really great. And I think that, people, you're right when they talk about that like, diversity, like we're all diverse, we're all human. My mother very highly identified with being a feminist, and I never did identify with being a feminist simply because I came through the 80s with it, which was a totally different sort of like women are great and men suck. And
Yeah.
where I came was when I came through it, I was like, I'm a humanist. Like, I think we
Mm,
all
mm,
deserve to be treated equally, right? Like,
yes.
doesn't matter. And this was all before DEI stuff
Yeah.
that, sort of came out. What's saddens slash scares me is the conversations that I'm having with people that talk about, oh, well, your truth isn't real,
Mm,
right? People are shutting you down. It's like, no, it's not that bad, or that's not
mm.
happening. How do you deal with those kinds of things, especially when you're dealing with companies that are trying to go through these things?
Yeah, it is challenging because it feels like massive gaslighting on a whole new scale, right? It's like when I've been in rooms where people are like, "Oh, I don't see color." Really? You don't see color? Because I see color in your face and I see color in my face, right? Like, can we stop lying to ourselves? Can we stop, racism doesn't exist. You had President Barack Obama, you had Kamala Harris. Okay, okay, right? Like
Yep.
it's the problem is, in our minds we are king, we are jury, we are judge, like we're all everything, and it's really hard for people to get outside of their own perspective. It's impossible for me to ask someone who is not, a black person or a black woman to tell me how they can connect with my experience. They can't. It's not fair. But then on the flip side, it's not fair for someone not in my shoes to tell me that my existence does not exist, that I don't hurt when someone denies me opportunity, when I am afraid to share my picture because I might be bypassed for something, right? Like and that's where people fail to understand that like you can be right and I can be right, but we are right on different things. And we also have to give a space to hear other perspectives, because we're not going to always be in the rooms of situations that are happening. And people would rather, because they don't know, human instinct is to deny and to get away from it, because we're like, "Ooh, I don't know what that is. I don't like it. I fear." Right? But instead, we need to say, "Ooh, what is this?" Right? Like lean into the excitement of other, lean into the uncertainty of what's happening, and then try to understand. And if you don't understand, instead of denying it, ask clarifying questions. Why did you feel this way? How could this have gone differently? How can I support you in this, right? Like Black History Month, for people and organizations to be denying the celebration of that. Why?
Yeah.
Why? What is the issue? What is the issue of celebrating for a moment in time a group of people that have defined American history, that have defined global history? What is wrong with that? It doesn't mean to celebrate Blackness is to deny the greatness of others. And that's where people are doing that. They're like, if
Yes.
I make space for you, it means it's less space for me. No, it doesn't. The table
Yeah.
expands.
And I find that with people, first of all, like we all come to each discussion, each moment in our lives with some sort of bias. We all have a bias in
Yes.
our heads, regardless of what that is. And I know I have biases. They may not be the biases that would be called out in a social situation, but I certainly have things where,
Mhm.
I think a certain thing because I've been treated a certain way, or I think certain thing because I've had an experience that influenced the way I think. That's a bias. And
Yep.
that's okay as long
Yep.
as, like you said, be interested, right?
Yes.
Be open to change. Be open to,
Mhm.
I always say I'm open to being wrong
Yeah.
because I could be wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what people fail to miss is that we as humans only learn when we fall, when we falter, when we fumble. We don't learn when we win. So that's the thing. We have to lean into the failure because that's when you're going to be like, oh, I missed that step. Oh, I didn't see this. Oh, I didn't talk to these people. Yeah, so you won't make that mistake again. But if you're winning, you're never going to see where the deficiencies, where the gaps were. So
Yeah,
we have to fail. And it's painful because some of these failures, it's involving human life and emotions and
totally.
feelings. It sucks to fail, but that's the only way we'll get better as a society. And we have to stop cowering away from this.
I agree 100%. That's awesome. And
Mm.
I may not agree with everything you say. You may have different belief systems than I
Oh
do.
God, yeah.
But what
Yeah.
I think is most important is we talk about this like-mindedness. To
Mm.
me, like-mindedness isn't we see the same all the time,
Mhm.
that we agree on everything. My like-mindedness is all about finding people who are willing to be wrong, people who are willing to learn, people who are willing to grow. That's a like-mindedness I can get behind,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'm never one that's going to be like, I want to be part of the cult,
Mm,
whatever cult that is. It doesn't matter which one it is, right? I
yeah.
I want to learn and grow and maybe be told I'm wrong or find out there's something that I believed before is not correct. And I think that's important for us as humans to get to the next
Mhm.
level so we can be better, so that we can be more inclusive and so that we can be
Yeah.
more supporting of other people. I think what's interesting when you talked about, people thinking that they get less of a pie than the others, some of the
Mhm.
stuff I've come up against, and our history between Canada and the United States is a little different. Like, so
Mhm.
in the United States, your population of the Black people have had a very tough road, and what you guys gone through up in Canada,
Mhm.
it has been our Aboriginal culture, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's similar in terms of how
Yeah.
things happened, right?
Mhm.
But like we still have the way that those things have happened in
Mm.
Canada, and I can only speak really from my own culture and what we go
Mhm.
through, right? But sometimes people will say, and I find that some of the it doesn't matter whether which group of people who have been slighted or who have been
Yeah.
impacted in the past, they come to the situation of, why should I support this new thing because they didn't support me back then? And I
Mm.
think, hold on
Mm.
a second, just because you were slighted
Mm.
doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't now support the people that are
Yeah.
now being slighted. And I am fortunate for my skin color,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you that it wasn't all that bed and roses when the people, I mean, from my history of where my family came
Mhm.
from, like, yes, I fit into the mold of what is not going to
Mhm.
be physically represented, other than the fact that I'm a woman and I've got the other part, right?
Mhm.
If I was male, it'd be way different. But I can only come from my own experiences. And I think, why is it that people think just because I help somebody, I get less? Why can we not be abundant? Why can there not be enough?
Yeah, because people do not have an abundance mindset, right? Because they fear that there's always a limitation because that's all that's pumped into media and things. It's we only have X amount of books, we only have this
Mm,
amount of things. Deprivation is the standard in our life scenario wherever you are. So because people operate from that space, they will never want to make more space because they don't believe that there is more space to be made. And it's so interesting also how transactional people are, in that if I do for you, you do for me. If you don't do for me, I won't do for you. Which, I mean, I have this conversation with my husband all the time, which is, what do people want, right? When we wake up, what do we want? What are we here for? I think the problem of having, it's a beautiful and it's like two sides of a coin. One side of the coin of life is like, it's really beautiful that life is whatever you make it, right? So it's endless opportunity, endless change, endless this. But then the other side, there's no definition, there's no clarity, there's no purpose driven, like, why am I on this earth? What am I supposed to do? Because that is not well defined for each and every one of us, then we are left to our own makings of deciding if we're going to see the world how we want to see it, abundantly or not abundantly. We are also in the state where we can say, I only help my people. I only believe this belief. I only support this, instead of saying, hey, to be human is to help thy brother and thy sister. To be human is to be one with open mind. To be human is to love first and judge later, or not at all, ideally.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
None of that is given to us. And so because of that, we were making poor choices each and every day.
I agree on so many, like, I mean, number one, you talk about media, but also that same comes down from, let's call it billionaires, right? Large CEOs, those kinds of things. I mean, if they can just keep the people down,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we can keep them uneducated, if we can keep them poor, if we can keep them wanting, then all they can do is get up and work every day, and they don't have time to think. The minute they start thinking, now we're in trouble. That's my mindset. And again,
Mm-hmm.
this is a bias, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's my bias. I think of those kinds of people living in power and think
yeah,
that's how they're keeping all of us stuck, right? Or that's how they're keeping their pawns on the chessboard, so to speak, right?
yeah,
And I think if only all of us could rise together. There's so
yeah.
many more of us, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, so in America, I don't know if they have it in Canada. We do have B corporation, like B benefit corporation. So not just the standard C corporation, where the corporation is designed for the benefit of the world and the earth. And so they don't have to make, the board of directors don't have to make decisions that are only aligned with profit first, but they can be like, oh, this is better for the community. It may not make us as much money, but we're going to do that direction. So we have B corporations, which is nice, like to see that there is that structure. And I think it's a little bit challenging, because I think there is automatically this rhetoric, like if you're well-off person or company, you're here to destroy the earth. I think that, like, again, like that, like, what do you catch more with honey than
Yes.
than vinegar, right? So like what I'd love to do is see opportunities where companies are engaging with the community more, to find out how they can make corporate socially responsible decisions, bring more money to funnel to like Michigan, Flint, Michigan, for instance. Are you familiar with what's going
Yep.
on? Yeah, right. Like, why is that still a thing? How many years has that happened? If three major corporations got together and got money, like, that would be eradicated, right? Like, so I think we have to find ways to get people to come to a common cause, as opposed to like demifying things, because it's like, if they're like, well, I'm gonna just be my conglomerate, they're not going to help us, right? And it's like, and it's similarly with the conversation of allyship, where sometimes people will be afraid or frustrated with, like, the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that. And it's like, we should not be making an enemy out of anyone, because at the end of the day, like, when I go into spaces that don't look like me, I need people that don't look like me to find a way to connect with me, to support me, to champion me. If I go in with an attitude thinking they're all my enemy and they want to be my enemy, then I'm screwed.
Yes. Yes. But you do come to certain situations. Like I said, everybody has their
Yeah,
biases, right?
yeah.
I know that there's good in the world, and I
Hmm.
love and I celebrate those that do good in the world.
Yeah.
And there's so much just darkness right now
Mm.
in the world, and all the things that are happening is really, like, I stopped watching the news in like 2020.
Oh, wow.
I started reading. So if I'm doing something that I'm sitting in a doctor's office, or
Mhm.
whatever, instead of being on my phone looking through all the news feeds and that kind of thing, I'm reading instead. I'm just choosing where
Mm.
to spend my energy, right?
Mm.
But it's been really challenging since the last
Mhm.
election in the States to not
Mm.
to not be part, but also to want to not be part, because I feel
Mhm.
like now we have no choice. We have
Yeah,
to speak up. I think of all the people who didn't vote in your election.
yeah,
And I think
yeah.
if you all stood up, if you all had taken a step,
Yep.
and we have the same thing here in Canada, right? We don't
Mm.
all vote. There's lots of people who don't vote. And I think it's just time to just continue speaking. It's not time to
Mhm.
stand back and just go, "Oh, okay, I'm going to wait and see what happens." There's no wait and see right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, we have to stand together, like you said. If you're united, then we won't fall. But the problem is, what does unity mean to you and me and everyone else, right?
Right.
We all are motivated by different things. We are concerned and worried over different things. There is no common ground with human
Yes.
beings, and that is why we'll never all stand together.
You're right.
Because we
Yeah,
have to
you're right.
decide, what are we standing together for? Is it for the love of humanity? Are we going to say humanity means we live in a world where it's one race, the human race, and we are going to have an economy that operates for the benefit of all that, or are we going to have separatism, right? And it's, I'm in this late, this is my nation, this is my boundary, I have more guns, more money, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do people want? I want unity. I want peace. I want people to have basic needs met. I also want people to be excited to wake up and not, want to jump off a bridge. I want people excited to create the way for us to get to another planet. I want people to find ways to protect the animals and the creatures and that need protection because of the harm that we're doing. Like, but that motivates me. That might not motivate other people.
You're 100% right. Yeah. I mean, and I guess the interesting thing about being an entrepreneur is that if I don't have something that drives me, I go nowhere, right? If I don't have a purpose, my business is going nowhere. And so as an entrepreneur, I feel like it's a really important piece to entrepreneurialism is to have that driving factor. And I try to instill it with my kids and my husband's a teacher. So, but to try to instill these things with people, it's like, but what do you want? Like, where are you going? Like, why are you making the life choices you're making? Like, do they align with where you're trying to head? And we didn't teach our kids this. Like, they didn't learn it in school, right? They were empowered to do these things. Or, I mean, I didn't learn it until I was, I don't know, early 30s probably because I started my business. But you're right. Everybody aligning to the same thing I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, I would be challenged. I would say that's probably the greatest lift for humanity for us to stand together in unity. People prefer chaos because I don't know if well, the world is organized chaos, right? And to be human is an anomaly. So it's like not that we shouldn't have been here, but like it's like, wow, it's some type of sorcery came to be. And so people just want to play it out, and we crave like madness. Essentially, we crave attention, we crave chaos, and no one's like, oh, I crave peace, right? Like I do, because I've had so much being from New York. I'm like, no, take that somewhere else, not today, please. But it took years of chaos for me to arrive at a space of like. And so I don't know if humans have to suffer for another 500 years till we get to a space of where we're like, oh, you know what, this isn't working, everyone. We have to figure it out. And then who's going to lead that charge? And how are you going to get everyone to march in step? It's a lot. I don't know. Maybe the aliens will teach us.
Maybe they'll find us first, show up here and go, oh,
I know. Did you ever see Independence Day or no?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember the line where the president's like, what do you want? And or can we have peace? He says. And then the alien's like, peace, no peace. And I feel like it's like, if you're like peace, no peace. People want chaos.
It's wild. To me, it's wild. And I think you're right. That like the actual core piece of it is that we're never all going to be aligned to the exact same purpose.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. And in that, I see the struggle, right, for all of us to stand together. But I think that I still have hope for humanity, that even though I'm a glass half full human, I really am. But I think even if we can't all align on the exact same thing, right? Like if we could align on like be and let be, maybe.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I think that there's a long future for humanity for sure. But I think we're just gonna have battles. I think we chose there's like a TikTok video where I saw this cat and it's like, mother, I chose violence for the day. Like I've decided as of right now, anything can change. The only final thing in life is death. That's the only final thing. So anything can change. But as of right now, I think people are ready for a fight, and this administration is clearly making round upon rounds of fights for folks.
Yes.
And we're gonna have to battle. But to your point, we're gonna learn to use our voice. We're gonna find our voice for some people, and then when it comes to neurospicy people, Now is the time that we stop masking and start standing up for what we need, start asking for accommodations, start creating space for employee resource groups, for affinity groups, for education, for self and others. Now is the time for activism. I think we're in an era of activism because it is challenging roads ahead.
Yeah. Have you read the Fourth Wing books by Rebecca Yarros?
No, I want to though. Are they good?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, and it'll give a whole new meaning to choosing violence. It's really
I
good
know.
though.
It's
Really
very
good.
like divergent, like then, huh? Have
It
you
is. Well, it is the main character. Well, actually, the author herself, she has EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I actually
Oh,
have hypermobility spectrum disorder, which is similar
okay.
to EDS. So the main character has EDS. It's not said it, but like you can tell
Oh,
based on things in the story, and then you read her
okay.
story. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a neat book, and it'll just really
Mm,
clarify that whole choosing violence piece,
violence.
which would be kind of
Yeah.
cool for you.
Yes, thank you. I saw that. I will never forget that TikTok because I was like, that is so true. I mean, my cat, my cat that passed, Toby, he was violent in nature. 3 pets and he would destroy you. Like he was ready. He was ready for violence. So, but I was like, you know what? This is a symbolism for life, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, it's unfortunate, but
yeah.
true for sure. So when you're thinking about like, the how can we,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean the royal we, both
Mm,
all of North America, not just your country or mine or Mexico, like that, all of
yeah.
us here who are embarking on this new journey
Yeah.
together, how can we still be, and I think about your clients, right? Like,
Mm,
how can you still bring the message of the importance of DEI, bring the value of
mm-hmm.
them having a workplace that is
Mm-hmm.
inclusive and all
Mm,
those things? Like, how can you continue? How are you hoping to continue to do
yeah.
that? Let's call it that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's about making sure that the talk matches the audience, right? So there's some organizations that are like gung ho about still moving forward with DEI. God bless them. And so you don't have to put on any extra curtain or veils for that. You can say the words as they are. But for other clients who are now or organizations who are like, oh no, right? This is, heathenism talk. Like we can't talk
Yeah.
about it. Then it's about what is the true purpose of DEI? It is culture amplification. It is making sure your employees feel safe. It's employee empowerment, right? That's the same effect of DEI. You don't have to say DEI to have a DEI impact, right? So it's about using the words that will match whomever you're speaking to. So being strategic, being like nimble enough to get to the
Right.
point and helping them also understand when you talk to a business, you have to talk business to business, right? So how is it making them money? How is it maybe reducing costs of losing employees through attrition? How is it going to make employees more productive? If you can talk about numbers to people who care about numbers, then you will move forward, right? But talking from the heart and emotion, that's not the audience. That's, for a group of poets, which is, phenomenal.
Yeah. It has
Right?
its place. Yes.
Yes, it has it, but so it's about making sure you're doing that matching and then also being the change you want to see, right? And so if you are, say, an advocate for, and whether you're in the space or not of DEI, how are you a change agent? How are you empowering others? Are you mentoring? Are you giving back and supporting business owners of color, of diverse backgrounds? What books are you reading every month, right? What
Yes.
content are you consuming? What podcasts are you listening to? We all can march in a space of change if we want to, but it's, again, do we want to?
Right. Yes. Yeah. I love the fact that you brought up the books, of course, because we tied those in earlier. But
Yeah.
I have read books over the last several years that I probably never would have years ago, just simply because
Mm,
I would have thought, oh, that's not for me. Right.
mm,
But what's really cool about reading books that aren't for you,
mm,
regardless of whether it's not for you because it's not your lifestyle, it's not your culture, it's not what you live and breathe every day.
yeah.
I've learned so much about humans. And
Mm,
even though they
mm,
might be fictional characters, you can
yeah.
guarantee that the authors aren't writing about things. Typically, good authors don't write about things they don't know. Let's go there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're reading something and you're like, oh, this makes me feel uncomfortable,
Mm,
keep reading. And then
yes.
find more books like that are going to
Yes.
continue to make you uncomfortable because
Mm,
it really, like, I get goosebumps when I think about what I've learned about
mm.
humans
That's so
and about
powerful.
different
Wow.
cultures and ways of life and that kind of thing that
Oh, yeah.
I would never have, and there'd be no way for me to learn it any other way. It's not like I'm going to
Mhm.
immerse myself in somebody else's,
Culture.
life or
Yeah.
culture that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I've stumbled upon Korean dramas. I don't know if you watch any on Netflix. There's
No.
two I really recommend. So Itaewon Class and then It's Okay Not to Be Okay. Two of the most brilliantly, beautifully filmed Korean dramas that have taught me more about life than I feel like any other show. And I'm like sad. I'm like, where have I been all this time? What's going on? It's incredible. And it's what I love about it is because at least in America, here in the States, people are used to watching a show, working, cooking, right? Like you're not really present. If you're watching a show in another language, there's nothing else that can happen between other than you and the show, and you got to
Yes.
tune in. And I really love the opportunity to now just be more present in one moment, doing one thing, calming for my mind, right? Because ADHD be thriving, and just paying attention to the words. And, so much of the Korean culture is so fun and beautiful and also like harsh and, and interesting. Like the writing is like to die for. It's so good. So if you have Netflix, please check out It's Okay Not to Be Okay and Itaewon Class. It's like, and the Itaewon Class also has a graphic novel series too, so you can get that.
It's Okay Not to Be Okay. I've heard about, but I haven't actually watched. So I'll check them out. That's cool.
Beautiful.
Awesome. So I would love to sit and talk to you for like another hour, but I know that, attention spans are what they are, right?
Yeah.
I have honestly loved speaking with you and spending time with you. And I know that people who are listening now are like, how else can I get more of this lady? So can you please tell us where they can find you and, how they can connect with you after this?
Yes, thank you. So everyone watching, listening, please find me on my podcast, Glamour, Giggles, and Goals. That's on dressingroom8.substack.com. And then also the website, dress8.com. You'll find all my blog posts where different media interviews I've done, all my social media handles, everything. So that's where I direct people. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can subscribe for free. I also like pay. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. This has been a really riveting and meaningful conversation. It's such an honor.
Well, thank you so much for being willing and open to just be honest and to share your experiences. And hopefully somebody who's listening will learn something or see a new perspective that maybe they hadn't had before. And that to me, I think is the best thing that we can do with the planet, right? Is to help each other see more, learn more. I think the more that we learn about other people, the more we're willing to be inclusive of other people.
1000% preach on it.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And those of you who are sticking around, please have a great week and I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Overgivers Anonymous podcast. Your support means the world to me. You can find show notes for this episode and other goodies at overgiversanonymous.ca. And if you enjoyed this episode or you enjoyed the podcast in general, why not join us in the Overgivers Anonymous Facebook group, where you can connect with overgivers from all over the world. Head on over to geekygirl.ca/group.